Listen carefully, because this might be the moment your excuses finally run out. Not because life suddenly got easier, not because the pain disappeared, not because the world finally decided to treat you fairly, but because something inside you shifted. You see, most people are waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel motivated, waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves to show up. But let me tell you something that might hit harder than anything you've heard before. Motivation is a lie. It's temporary. It's emotional. It's unreliable. It shows up when things feel good and disappears the moment things get hard. And if your entire life is built on something that comes and goes like the wind, then your success will do the same. That's why it's not about motivation. It's about commitment. Because commitment doesn't ask how you feel. Commitment doesn't care if you're tired. Commitment doesn't negotiate with your excuses. Commitment is a decision that says no matter what happens, I'm showing up. Even when your body is screaming at you to quit, even when your mind is filled with doubt, even when nobody is watching, supporting, or believing in you. That's where the real ones are built. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not when it's easy, but when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, and painful. That's where your character is forged. Think about it. When Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times trying to invent the light bulb, do you think he woke up every morning feeling motivated? Numbered. He woke up committed to a vision nobody else could see, committed to a belief that didn't yet have proof, committed to a future that hadn't arrived. And that's the difference between people who wish and people who win. Because winners don't rely on emotion. They rely on discipline. They rely on systems. They rely on standards. They decide in advance who they're going to be, and then they show up as that person every single day. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, every day. And that's where most people fall apart. They want the results, but they don't want the responsibility. They want the outcome, but they avoid the process. They want success to feel good, but they run the moment it stops being comfortable. But success was never meant to be comfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Becoming someone you've never been before is uncomfortable. And that's exactly why most people never get there, because they're addicted to comfort. They choose what feels easy over what builds strength. They choose distraction over discipline. They choose short-term pleasure over long-term purpose. And slowly, without even realizing it, they build a life they never intended to live. A life of almost, a life of what if, a life of regret. But you didn't come this far just to stay the same. There's a reason you feel that fire inside you, that restlessness, that voice that keeps whispering, you're meant for more. That's not random. That's your potential calling you out. And potential is a dangerous thing because it will haunt you. It will follow you into your quiet moments. It will show up when you're alone. It will remind you of who you could have been if you had just committed. And that's a pain worse than failure, because failure at least means you tried. But regret is knowing you had the chance and you let it slip through your fingers because you were waiting to feel ready. So let's get one thing straight right now. You will never feel ready. You will never feel 100% confident. You will never have all the answers. You will never eliminate all the fear. And if you keep waiting for that moment, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Because the truth is, clarity doesn't come before action. Clarity comes from action. You don't think your way into a new life. You act your way into one. One decision at a time. One disciplined step at a time. One commitment kept when it would have been easier to break it. That's how transformation happens. Not in one big moment, but in the small choices you make every single day. When you wake up early, even when you don't feel like it. When you keep going, even when progress feels slow. When you choose growth over comfort, again and again and again, that's how you build something real. That's how you become someone different. And make no mistake, this journey will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your belief. It will test whether you're truly committed or just interested. Because being interested is easy. When you're interested, you do what's convenient. When you're interested, you show up when it feels good. When you're interested, you quit the moment things get hard. But when you're committed, you do whatever it takes. No excuses, no shortcuts, no negotiation. Just relentless, consistent action, and that's the level you have to reach, because average effort creates average results. And deep down, you know you weren't built for average. You weren't designed to just survive. You were designed to build, to grow, to rise, to become something greater than your current circumstances. But that version of you, it doesn't exist in comfort. It exists on the other side of discipline, on the other side of sacrifice, on the other side of doing the work, long after the motivation is gone. So the question isn't, do you feel motivated today? The real question is, are you committed enough to keep going even when you don't? Because this is where everything changes, not when the world claps for you, not when the results finally show up, not when people start believing in you, but in the quiet, invisible moments when nobody sees the fight you're in. That's where commitment is proven. When the alarm goes off and your body feels heavy, when your mind starts negotiating just 5 more minutes, just 1 more day, just take it easy today, that voice, that's the same voice that has kept millions of people stuck exactly where they are. And if you listen to it long enough, it becomes your life. Because success isn't destroyed in one big decision. It's destroyed in small moments of weakness repeated over time. One skipped day turns into a habit. One excuse turns into a mindset. One moment of comfort turns into a lifetime of mediocrity. And the scariest part, you won't even notice it happening. That's why commitment has to be stronger than your emotions. It has to be deeper than how you feel in the moment. It has to be rooted in something unshakable. Your purpose. Because when your why is weak, your discipline collapses. But when your why is strong, it pulls you forward even when everything inside you wants to stop. Think about someone like Abraham Lincoln. He failed in business. He lost multiple elections. He faced rejection after rejection after rejection. If his life was based on motivation, he would have quit early, but he didn't, because he wasn't chasing comfort. He was committed to something bigger than himself. And that's what you need to understand. This journey isn't just about you. It's about who you become. It's about the people you impact. It's about the legacy you leave behind. And legacy is not built on convenience. It's built on consistency, day after day, step after step, choice after choice. Even when it's boring, even when it's repetitive, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Progress is invisible in the beginning. You won't see results right away. You won't feel different overnight. You won't suddenly become unstoppable after one good day. It doesn't work like that. It's slow. It's frustrating. It's uncertain, but it's working. Every disciplined action is a deposit. Every moment you choose growth over comfort is building something inside you. And one day, without warning, everything shifts. The habits click. The mindset sharpens. The results start showing. And people will look at you and say, you got lucky, but they didn't see the early mornings. They didn't see the nights you kept going when you were exhausted. They didn't see the discipline it took to stay committed when nothing was guaranteed. They only see the outcome, not the process. But you'll know. You'll know what it took. And more importantly, you'll know who you had to become to get there. Because success is not just about what you achieve, it's about what you transform into along the way. You become stronger. You become sharper. You become someone who doesn't break under pressure. And once you reach that level, you don't need motivation anymore. Because discipline becomes your identity. It becomes automatic. You don't debate whether to show up. You just do. You don't question whether it's worth it. You already decided it is. And that's power. That's real power. Not hype. Not temporary excitement. But a deep, unshakable commitment to your standards. And let's talk about standards for a moment. Because your life will always rise or fall to the level of what you tolerate. If you tolerate excuses, you'll live an excuse-filled life. If you tolerate laziness, you'll stay stuck in mediocrity. If you tolerate inconsistency, you'll never build anything meaningful. But the moment you raise your standards, everything changes. You start demanding more from yourself. You stop accepting less than what you're capable of. You stop negotiating with weakness. And that's when your environment starts shifting too. Because you can't operate at a high level and stay surrounded by low standards. Something has to change. Maybe it's your habits. Maybe it's your circle. Maybe it's how you spend your time. But one thing is certain, growth requires separation. You can't stay who you were and become who you're meant to be. It doesn't work like that. There's a version of you that has to die, the comfortable version, the distracted version that makes excuses and avoids responsibility. And in its place, a new version rises, focused, disciplined, relentless. A version that understands that success is not given, it's earned, and not once, but every single day. So when things get hard, and when doubt creeps in, and it will, when you feel like quitting, and you will, that's your moment. Not to step back, but to lean in, because that's the test. That's the moment that separates the committed from the interested. That's where your future is decided. Not in comfort, but in resistance. So don't run from it. Don't avoid it. Embrace it, because everything you want is on the other side of the work you've been avoiding, the discipline you've been delaying, the commitment you've been questioning. It's all there waiting for you to decide. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about motivation. It never was. It's about who you choose to be when motivation is gone. And this is where most people stop, right at the edge of becoming something greater. Not because they're incapable, but because the weight of the process starts to feel heavier than the dream itself. But listen closely. The weight you feel right now is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're lifting something real. Because fake goals don't feel heavy. Fake dreams don't demand sacrifice. Fake ambition doesn't test your patience. Only real transformation breaks you before it builds you. So if you feel resistance right now, good, that means you're finally in the right place, because everything you've ever wanted sits on the other side of resistance. And resistance is not your enemy. Resistance is the gatekeeper. It shows up right before every breakthrough, right before every level up, right before every version of you that you've been praying for. But here's the truth. Most people never accept resistance doesn't stop you. You stop you. Not because it's impossible, but because it becomes uncomfortable. And comfort is dangerous. Comfort whispers, you've done enough today. You can start again tomorrow. Dog, one day won't matter, but one day always matters, because one day becomes two becomes a week becomes a month, and suddenly a year has passed and nothing has changed except regret. Regret is built silently. No explosion, no warning, just slow disappointment accumulating over time. And one day you wake up and realize you didn't fail because life was too hard. You failed because you stopped too soon. But that doesn't have to be your story, because right now, this exact moment is where everything can still change. Not in theory, not in imagination, but in action. You don't need a new identity tomorrow. You need a decision today. A decision that says, I am no longer the person who quits when things get difficult. I am no longer the person who negotiates with discipline. I am no longer the person who waits for motivation to move. Because every time you break your own promises, you weaken your future self. But every time you keep them, even when it hurts, even when nobody is watching, you build a stronger version of yourself. And that version becomes unstoppable. Think about steel for a moment. Steel isn't strong because it avoids pressure. Steel becomes strong because it survives pressure, heat, force, repetition. That's what turns raw metal into something unbreakable. And you are no different. The pressure you're feeling right now is not destroying you. It's refining you. But only if you stay in the fire long enough. Most people step out early. They feel the heat and assume it means stop. But the ones who win, they stay. Not because they enjoy it, but because they understand it. They understand that pain is temporary, but quitting is permanent. And permanence is what destroys dreams, not failure. Stop it. So ask yourself something brutally honest right now. How many times have you been right at the edge of your breakthrough and walked away because it got uncomfortable? How many times have you almost become who you were meant to be, but chose comfort instead? Because the difference between who you are and who you could be is not talent, it's tolerance. What are you willing to tolerate? Discomfort for a short time or regret for a lifetime? Because those are the only two options. There is no third path. And deep down, you already know which one leads where. Discomfort leads to growth. Regret leads to emptiness. One builds your future, the other destroys it quietly. And the hardest truth of all is this: nobody is coming to save you from your habits. Nobody is coming to force you to be disciplined. Nobody is coming to wake you up early. Nobody is coming to make your decisions for you. You are alone in that responsibility. And that's not a punishment, that's power. Because the moment you accept full responsibility for your life, you take back control of it. No more blaming timing, blaming circumstances, no more blaming people, just ownership. And ownership is where transformation begins. Because once you own your life, you stop reacting to it and start building it. Like an architect instead of a victim, like a creator instead of a spectator. And creators don't wait for permission, they move. Even when it's unclear, even when it's messy, even when nobody understands what they're doing yet, because they see something others do not. They see possibility where others see limitation. And that vision becomes fuel. Fuel that keeps them going when logic says stop. Fuel that keeps them building when results aren't visible yet. Fuel that keeps them committed when doubt gets loud. But even fuel runs out, which is why discipline must replace emotion. Emotion will always fluctuate. Some days you'll feel powerful. Some days you'll feel empty. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Some days you'll feel like quitting everything. But discipline doesn't fluctuate. Discipline says, I show up regardless. That's it. No debate, no negotiation, no emotional voting process, just execution. And when execution becomes your identity, everything changes. Because now you are no longer trying to succeed. You are becoming someone who succeeds as a default. And that shift is everything. So stop asking, how do I stay motivated? Start asking, how do I become undeniable? Because undeniable people don't rely on inspiration. They rely on repetition. They repeat the right action so many times that failure becomes statistically unlikely. That's how greatness is built. Not in moments, but in patterns. And your patterns right now are either building your future or quietly stealing it from you. There is no neutral ground. You are either moving forward or drifting backward. Even standing still is an illusion, because life never stands still. So if you're not actively building, you're slowly falling behind. But here's the good news. You can change direction at any moment, not by wishing, by deciding right now. Because the future is not waiting for a better version of you. It is being shaped by the version of you that shows up today. And that version is always your choice. And now, this is the moment everything comes down to one truth. Not your talent, not your past, not your circumstances, just your decision. Because at the end of the day, your life has never been controlled by what you wanted. It has always been controlled by what you tolerated. You tolerated excuses, so you live with inconsistency. You tolerated comfort, so you delayed your greatness. You tolerated distraction, so your focus never became powerful enough to build anything real. But today is where that pattern breaks. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when life calms down, right now. Because if you don't interrupt your own patterns, they will repeat you into a life you never chose. And that's how people wake up 10 years later asking, how did I end up here? Not because they lack dreams, but because they lack commitment when it mattered most. But you are not here to live a delayed life. You are not here to be a spectator of your own potential. You are here to execute, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain, even when there is no applause. Because real commitment is silent. It doesn't post. It doesn't announce. It doesn't ask for validation. It just works day after day, step after step, without stopping. And somewhere in that repetition, you change, not suddenly, but permanently. One day you realize the things that used to break you don't affect you anymore. The excuses that used to control you don't even appear anymore. The doubts that used to dominate you no longer have authority, because you trained yourself into something stronger than emotion. You trained yourself into discipline. And discipline is where freedom is born, not the freedom to do nothing, but the freedom to become anything. Because when you can control yourself, you can control your direction. And when you control your direction, you control your destiny. But understand this deeply, no one will hand you that version of life. It is built in silence. It is built in resistance. It is built in the moments where quitting would have been easier, but you stayed anyway. That's the separation point between people who dream and people who become, between people who start and people who finish, between people who talk and people who transform. And the truth is, you don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You don't need a perfect plan. You need consistency that refuses to break, because consistency is louder than talent. Consistency is stronger than luck. Consistency is more powerful than emotion. And if you stay consistent long enough, life has no choice but to respond. But here's what makes it difficult. The beginning never feels powerful. It feels slow. It feels invisible. It feels like nothing is changing. But that's exactly where most people quit, right before the breakthrough starts forming, because growth is silent before it is visible. Just like seeds don't grow above the ground first, your effort builds underground before anything shows on the surface. And most people lose patience in the soil, but not you, not anymore. Because now you understand, every early morning you force yourself to wake up, every uncomfortable decision you refuse to avoid, every moment you choose discipline over desire, is building something that your future self will thank you for, even if today feels ordinary. Because ordinary days done consistently become extraordinary results. So stop waiting for a sign. You are the sign, the proof, the beginning, the shift. Everything starts when you stop negotiating with your own potential, because your potential doesn't disappear. It just gets buried under excuses. And the moment you stop feeding those excuses, it rises again, stronger, clearer, louder, until you can no longer ignore it. That's when you become dangerous, not to others, but to the version of you that's settled. And once you become dangerous to your old self, there is no going back, only forward, only growth, only evolution. So today, don't look for motivation. Don't wait for a feeling. Don't ask for perfect conditions. Just decide, I will not break my commitment to myself again, because that one decision is the beginning of everything you've been waiting for. And when you finally understand that, you'll realize something powerful. You were never behind. You were just not yet committed. But now